I'm obviously not a country counter. I've been to a lot of countries, but competing with how many countries I've been to is not something I'm interested in.
It is
But
kind of a competition, isn't it? It's
yeah,
a bit of a. I almost feel like travel, especially people that travel like you, if they've read Vagabonding, which if you haven't, you should definitely go check it out. It's kind of like a spiritual journey, right? It's like kind of like finding yourself and finding your true interests and finding, your true love in your example. And there's a whole industry around it now, and I'm part of the industry that it become that like glossy, shiny, immovable object that you describe in vagabonding. And even in like vagabonding circles, it's become a bit of a competition. It's like, oh, you don't carry a backpack, you have like a small carry-on roller. Like
yeah.
you're not really seeing the place if you have a
Right.
roller.
No,
you
that
know.
existed before the digital era. I called it one-downsmanship, and I think I played that game and then I realized that it was silly, and then I stopped. Yeah, backpackers in the nascent digital age were complete knuckleheads when it came to one-downsmanship, and sort of bragging about how little money they'd spent. In fact, I
That's
addressed
still
that.
a thing.
I addressed that in vagabonding because I say, look, don't brag about negotiating your rickshaw driver down to 60 cents to a bar, taking you to a bar where you'll blow $6 on beer. I think that's a paraphrase of what I wrote in vagabonding. And so I think that their one-downsmanship has been, it predates the digital age, and it sounds like it still exists. And yeah, so I think that there's that competition that exists among travelers that can be sort of fun, but ultimately not very productive, and ultimately sort of narcissistic.
Yes.
That at the end of the day, you're trying to be the flashiest fish in somebody else's ocean, and so sure and actually, this shows you how much of a nerd of travel I've been. Is that an anthropologist around the time Vagabonding came out? She studied backpackers, and she found out that the two things that they lied about the most was the amount of money they spent. They always claimed to spend less money than they actually had spent, and the amount of time they spent with locals. This anthropologist scientifically determined that those are the things that travelers had lied about, backpackers in particular. And so that she's like, what are your values? It's like, well, I spend very little money. And then she says, well, show me your budget. What have you spent your money on? And it's like, really? You spent that little money in this place? Which hotel did you stay at? Oh, yeah, no, okay, yeah, that was not a $2 hotel, it was a $10 hotel. And so then she determined that that a status in backpacker culture was getting a long way on a little amount of money. And so people would lie for status about that. Status also says, oh, I spent a lot of time with locals. She found out that most of them were spending time with people in the service economy. It's like, yeah, your scuba instructor probably isn't really that local. Your bartender, your taxi driver, the person who works at your hostel probably isn't as local as you like to think you've been. And so, yeah, so that competition doesn't actually, sure, it makes you a better traveler. Yeah, if you go a long way with little luggage, and I mean, I went around the world with no luggage once, and that was a stunt. Yeah.
How did you?
And we can talk about that.
Yeah, we should.
But just to finish this point, at the end of the day, that's just a competition among the other travelers. Like I say in vagabonding, that the traveler-tourist dichotomy is just people showing off to each other in the bar. At the end of the day, a local person will just, they don't care. They don't see us as tourists or travelers. We're all tourists. We're here. We're visitors. We're guests in a foreign place, and that's a pissing contest between people who don't belong to a place. So
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of grotesque that you're traveling in this way and you're, on a round the world trip on a shoestring, and then you're still like comparing yourself. And I guess it's just a human thing because I don't know.
Well, yeah, you want a sense that you're excelling, and I think a lot of driven people travel. They want more out of life, and so they want, but they also want to be different, right? And so they don't just want to stay at the beige hotel. They want to, but then somehow they're still beholden to it.
I know. Well, they've just created a whole new culture around what are our values, and then who is excelling at those values. It's really easy for me because I'm a YouTuber. We have view counts. It's really easy to see what is in the zeitgeist and what's working and what's not. So, yeah, I don't know. I met a girl. I was in Dominica. Have you been there in the Caribbean?
Never. No.
Yeah, I didn't have a great time there. But to be fair, I didn't really know what to expect. But I was kind of venting with this girl. I was like, yeah, I'm not really enjoying myself. You know, food is hard to get to. It's expensive. You know, it's hard to get around, this and that. And we're just kind of venting to each other. And then she's like, oh, yeah, well, tomorrow I'm going to, I can't remember. It was some Caribbean country, like near Dominica. She's going to take a ferry because she's trying to do every Caribbean country. And I was like, oh, so are you, you know, country counting? Are you trying to go to every country in the world? She's like, well, yeah, you know, next I got to go here and then I got to go here. And I'm like, but you know that you don't like this region. I mean, I know Dominica isn't, you know, reflective of the entire region, but it is part of it. And so, like, if you're not enjoying yourself, why would you spend all this money and all this time to just, like, check something off?
Well, even that vernacular, I got to go here, I got to go here. Not I get to go here, I want to go here, but I got to go here. And that's when your checklist is driving your life. And, you know, I try not to knock anybody's style of travel. And I know some kind of country crowners who travel in really interesting ways. But it's not a way to keep score. You know, that doesn't... Sure, if you travel every country in the world, that's great. But that doesn't mean you've won, you know.
And it doesn't mean you've seen everything either.
It does not mean you've... It means you've probably seen a lot of airports, you know. And that you've been through a lot of customs. And you've probably seen a lot of tourist attractions to make yourself feel like you've been to a place.
Yeah. Well, no, some guy did every country. He broke a world record. He went to every country in the shortest amount of time. It was like 3 months or something.
Right.